How we plan international trips with 4 kids. Most of our bigger trips, especially anything international or longer than a week, are planned at least a year in advance. In fact, right now, we already have tentative plans for vacations all the way through 2028. They are not fully booked yet, but the planning has started so we can make sure we have the points, time, and budget ready when the time comes. Because our kids are still pretty young, we usually don't ask them to choose the destination. Occasionally, we'll give them a choice between places they've already been when we're trying to decide where to go next. For example, when planning a trip during maternity leave, we gave them the option between Woodlock or Disney, because those are 2 places we knew we could realistically manage with a newborn. Most of the time, though, the destination is chosen by me or based on an event. My husband always has input, but he trusts my research and planning when it comes to figuring out what destinations will work well for our family. Sometimes a trip is built around something specific, like when we attended a wedding in Germany. Since we already knew we needed to be in that area, I planned the rest of the trip around it by adding other destinations before and after the event. Other times, I start with places I've always wanted to visit and then piece them together in a way that works logistically for our family. For example, in 2023, we flew into Scotland and then took trains down to London and Paris, which allowed us to see 3 different countries in one trip without too much complicated travel in between. Other trips are much simpler. In 2019, we spent a couple of weeks entirely in Ireland, and in 2018, we spent over a week exploring Germany. Looking ahead, some of our countries we're hoping to visit next include Denmark, Italy, Germany, Sweden, and Switzerland. Not all in one trip, but hopefully a few at a time. One of the biggest advantages of planning so far in advance is that I can start tracking the costs of flights, accommodations, and activities early. This helps me build a realistic estimate for the trip and see where we may be able to add on another destination or extend our time somewhere. When it comes to accommodations, for years we were very loyal to Marriott hotels. But once we had our last 2 kids, it became much harder to fit into traditional hotel rooms, especially in Europe where many rooms only allow 3 people maximum. Because of our Marriott loyalty program, we still check those hotels first, but we often branch out to other hotel brands or home and apartment rentals, which tend to work much better for larger families. When possible, we prioritize places that have laundry and basic toiletries provided. Having access to those things makes it easier to pack lighter and stay organized during longer trips. Since I'm the main planner, I do research adult activities that we'd enjoy, but most of the time we plan experiences the kids can participate in as well. For example, when we were in France, we visited several champagne houses. The kids were technically allowed to join the tours, but definitely wasn't their favorite activity. Because of that, I intentionally build in kid-friendly activities or even full kid days during our trips. When planning those, I'll often open Google Maps and search for things like playgrounds, carousels, and ice cream shops near where we're staying. I also look at what other parents recommend doing at that destination with kids. As our twins get older, we'll probably have to balance adult activities, kid activities, and toddler activities a little more carefully. But right now, all our kids are easily excited about a new playground or a sweet treat. To keep everything organized, I use an Excel spreadsheet to track our trip budget and major planning details. Then I use a Microsoft Calendar to map out our daily plans once the trip gets closer. After a trip is finished, I move the spreadsheet into a folder of past trip budgets. That way, when I'm planning future vacations, I can look back and see what we actually spent out of pocket and use that information to make a much more accurate estimates for our next trip. Planning family travel definitely takes time, organization, but for us, the preparation makes the actual trip smoother and helps us continue exploring the world together as a family. Please like and subscribe to follow along for more.